Hi, everybody. My name is Eric, and I'm the artist behind Easel Bound, a new company that I'm starting to showcase and sell my artwork. Uh, for those of you who may not know, I am coming from my previous company at Art Studios. I am actually transitioning over to a new medium entirely, oil painting to be more specific. I am going to do that exclusively. And so I figured from my old business of being a digital artist of over 13 years, I am now going to transition my entire artist identity, over to oil painting and the traditional mediums, strongly emphasizing in the oil painting part, almost exclusively. Um, so I myself have been a digital artist for over 13 years, as I said. After having gotten to a certain point, I started a company at Art Studios where I sold my digital works. Um, that was, I think I was doing that professionally for about 3-ish years, maybe four. Um, and then everything was going great. I really loved it. I loved going to all sorts of Comic Cons all over the Midwest. I made a lot of like cool vendor friends, met a lot of great people, etc. Um, Art has been a passion of mine since I was really young, as most artists usually. I mean, they come from that kind of background story. They started young and then they just kind of grew into it. And now I'm no different in that. Um, so when I started in traditional back in like high school and under, because that was pretty much what was there, you know. And then when digital art became a more publicly accessible medium, I pretty immediately jumped ship. Well, I should say when I discovered it. I don't know about exactly when it came out, but uh, when I discovered it, and it was still in its fair infancy, I think. I jumped ship pretty quick. I have a big fascination with technology, and it was literally the perfect melding of my two biggest hobbies slash interests, art and technology. I also really liked digital art in that it allowed you to be portable. It was far more cost effective. I didn't have to spend as much on supplies constantly. I didn't have to have a huge setup everywhere I went. I mean, I could literally do the full extent of a digital piece on a singular tablet device in any place. So it was great. I loved it, and I stuck with it. I did that only. I didn't even touch digital, or sorry, I didn't touch traditional the whole time, because it was all I needed. You know, it was my sketchbooks, it was my canvas, it was my brushes, it was my paint, it was my everything. So I stuck with it. I had no reason to move. Well, fast forward to, getting out of the military, I decided to pursue art in a professional sense, and I basically really honed in on my art. I got better, I studied, I practiced hours and hours, till I felt like I was at a place where I feel like I could sell, and go maybe into a market of sort. And so I did just that. When I got to a point, I started in the conventions circuit, or event circuit in my local area of like the Kansas City greater area. Um, I went to little markets at first. I had my first booth, little tiny one-off table, and some prints on the top, to where I left off, which was a huge booth at a very big convention and a nice backdrop and everything. Um, Great times, and that was looking great. Like I said, I got into the circuit and I just really I flourished in it. Met a lot of cool people, uh, but unfortunately, um, I would say soon after, even though it was probably like 2 years into it, but that's pretty soon for in grand scheme of things. Soon after, um, AI started becoming a topic of conversation in the public sphere or space. At first, it was like ChatGPT, and it was like little tiny things. It wasn't really anything, but just like whispers, you know. And then it grew into generative AI, which um, is where the problems began. So as and I'm not the only artist who's been affected negatively like this. I'm one of many. As Gen AI came out, at first it was absolute trash. You know, anyone can attest to that. It was garbage. So I didn't really worry about it. And I started, I mean, like anybody else, when it first started appearing, I played around with it. At least, I mean, like for the free off things that were out there that you could like play around with, um, just to see what it could do. And I didn't feel threatened as much as I should have, but I was like, oh, okay, well, this is something, you know, like okay, well, naturally it exploded in like a huge way. It progressed faster than I ever thought it would, to the point where the past, I would say, year and a half to maybe 2 years, um, I started feeling the negative effects of generative AI with being a digital artist. Um, Not everybody felt it this way. Some people were able to make names for themselves before Gen AI got to where it was, and they were already there doing well in their field, so they didn't really they didn't really have to worry. But I was still fairly new, and I I was not in the public space for long enough, and so naturally that just turned into becoming. I had to defend my integrity more and more. It was subtle at first, and it was like one off, two offs, and then it started getting worse. To where we are at a point now where it's just basically a witch hunt. Which I get it. I mean, people don't want AI to flood the artist space. I mean, it has, but people want to try to stop it as best they can, and I don't blame them for that. Um, but where it started becoming, well, let me back up a little bit. I was starting to feel and see that, but I dug my heels in. I was like, no, I'm not going to be bullied out of my favorite medium, the most convenient medium for me. And I was stubborn. I didn't move. I was like, nope, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to stay with it, blah, blah, blah. Then going forward, it started becoming like a portion of my shows where I was, there talking to people. Not a large portion, not even 50%, but like somewhere between, 50 and zero, depending on the show. A lot of my discussions with people turned into defending my integrity, um, explaining what digital painting was, and that the word digital does not mean Gen AI or photo bashing or photography with edits. Like that was a huge topic of conversation, was those things, and I hated that because I just felt like I had to constantly make a case for myself all the time, um, to the point where like I started getting harassed by other vendors, um, like two that I can just think of off the top of my head, were just after me for some reason. I've worked with plenty of people on commissions, authors, uh, independent people who wanted me to paint stuff for them. I've showed all of those people processes, uh, you know, in between, like progress shots and all this stuff. So, like, I always was proving myself to others, and I did that regardless of AI. That was before AI too, because people like to see how you're progressing in a commission for them. Well, I had those people in my corner because they knew, um, but it turned into a gossip mill. Unfortunately, the vendor circle, the vendor community, is kind of high schooly in that when someone has a vendetta or feels like they that you're doing something wrong, instead of talking to you and figuring out who you are, they just go on their own assumptions and just gossip. Um, you know, so I don't know how far that went. I know it went far enough that I got annoyed with it, and so with all of the gossipiness, the high school drama crap that the vendor community has, plus just people who don't understand what art is or how to spot AI or what to look for in terms of what is and isn't generative and stuff. It just became too much. It got to a point where I was exhausted. I hated going to conventions. They weren't fun because I just started kind of getting a little paranoid of like everyone who looked at my booth or every vendor who I was near. I just always thought like, are they thinking that about me? Um, it just became a pain in the butt. Um, it wasn't until I found out there was a particular vendor who was making it a mission of theirs to have a gotcha moment with me. They could never get one, but they tried. And I just think it's sad that their whole existence had to focus around me and what I was doing instead of perfecting their own craft. I don't know who this vendor even is, so I can't even say if it was like a quality of art, professional jealousy thing. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, instead of proving myself through words and promises, um, I decided to fully transition over to oil painting, to the traditional mediums. When I say mediums, oil painting is like my thing. That's where I'm going to go. That is where I'm going to stay. But I mean, in the sense that I needed to go over to the traditional side of art, and I am doing that. So uh, I had a lot of support with that. Unfortunately, I have over 10 years of work, and then the last couple of years where I was able to be an artist full time, be able to like get stuff done, like pieces and artwork done. All of that is going away, is gone. It'll serve no more purpose for me, professionally, personally, anything like that. So I'm essentially starting from scratch and fresh. Um, Part of me feel like the petty part of me feels like I don't want to give those people the satisfaction of thinking they beat me somehow or finally got me. But that's my own like immaturity coming through, and I recognize that. I hope one day they can recognize their own and be better people. But I I can't care about them as much as they clearly care about me because that's just not going to be helpful for my growth or creativity. So I'm switching over, and I am starting like kind of anew. I haven't done traditional in a long time, as I said, so I'm kind of relearning. I'm rebuilding the muscles that have atrophied over that time. Um, Biggest example, color mixing. I've not had to do that for a long time, so that's something I'm going to have to kind of reteach myself to be more efficient in. Um, so that all being said, I am looking forward to this new adventure. I am very curious to what will come of it. I know that I had a particular style when I was doing digital because I had a routine and a process there. I'm very excited to see what style emerges out of my oil painting endeavors because I think every medium for every artist breeds its own style. I mean, yeah, you can actively try to mimic and maintain. That's nothing wrong with that, but I want to be completely dissociated from my old stuff. Now, there's going to be some similar styles because there's a certain way I see things, but and that's great. And I do want to retain some of it because I would say I was pretty good, before, and so I do want to retain some. And I also There are certain things I want to carry over, and I hope that carry over. But at the end of the day, I'm going to release myself to creativity entirely, and the process and this medium, more in kind of like a weird spiritual sense. I want to submit to this process so that whatever comes out of it, what my voice in oil painting will be, will shine through. And if it is similar, great. If it's not, also great. Um, but the dissociation part is important to me because I don't want to be compared to my digital work, because that, especially in the beginning, the digital work will have many more years, time, effort, and practice behind it, that it's going to look better than what my beginning stages of oil painting is going to look like. And so that's why I'm changing my name, or my business name. I'm changing uh, everything. I'm not recreating any of my old work. I'm not gonna try to repaint any of my old work in oil, um, because I don't want to be, other than my face, recognized by my old company, by my old business, by my old artist identity. I want to be, I want to flourish and grow in my new artist identity that will come of this, transition. Um, so I'm very excited about that. But because I don't want to be compared, I'm going to, like I said, dissociate entirely. Um, so yeah, and then my goals for that are to basically take this year of 2026 to really hone in on my skills with oil. I wouldn't say my I wouldn't say the realistic goal is mastery, because impossible, but sellable. My goal for 2026 is to get to really hone in on oil painting to the point where I can come back into the vendor sphere, the community in which I flourished and made my money. I want to be able to come back into it, and I don't want to take too much time off of that. So that's my biggest goal, is to come back strong with oil, or at least strong enough. I know that means I'm probably not going to have very many pieces, but that's fine. Even if I have to take a small booth and have like 3 pieces, that's totally cool by me. So that's my big goal, for professional goal for that. My personal goal is to uh, basically grow as an artist in a different, new, exciting way. Also, a personal vendetta goal of mine is to hopefully be then facially recognized with my new work that is undeniably done by me and cannot say any part of it was touched by AI. That all those previous haters can be like, oh man, he was actually good. Maybe I just hate myself. And then they grow as a person. But that's the petty part of me that is like, that's kind of a goal I want them to see come back stronger, so that it is, I've proved myself through ambition and creative growth. So there's that. um, I guess from this first video, which is just an artist introduction, I would like to then extend a call to action of advice. Um, what do you think I should focus on? What, if you have oil painted, what are some tips, tricks that you know that worked well for you? What do you think you wish you knew when you started that you know now that maybe I can know now? um, what are, uh, I guess, good marketing tips for traditional? I'm assuming they're fairly the same, but probably not totally, because I know there's a whole echelon of clientele that are collectors of just uh, originals. Um, so, is there any advice anybody can give in terms of like technical art application, business application, marketing application? Any advice and all advice would be great and well received, and I'm very excited to take and absorb all of that, because again, I'm trying to regrow in a more efficient and accelerated ish type of way, business wise. And so yeah, anything could help, and more videos to come. Not all of them will be me just talking. I will do a lot of process videos, current works, maybe fast paintings if I get to that point, sketches, stuff like that. So I do want to make this channel about my art growth as well. There are already some videos on this channel where I'm doing some stuff. Nothing super exciting. I hope that just changes to more exciting stuff. But yeah, I will have more stuff to go along, and I hope you can join me on this ride through this next year, where it's going to be a huge transitional year for me, and I'm excited to see what comes of it. So, anyway, I hope everybody's having a great day, and I will see you all next time.